Hello, everybody, and welcome to a special bonus episode of the podcast. We're so excited. We're coming to you in a new format from our homes, and we're kind of excited, not just about the possibility of you maybe like seeing us a little bit more closely. I also really like that I could be in pajama pants and no one would know, but that's a whole other conversation. We
I feel
just
called out,
really,
Jennafer.
I know,
Why you got to do that to me?
right?
Day one.
I'm like, and you'll never know. Yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway,
totally
thank you
tell on
all.
ourselves. Okay.
I know where there's no shame. Well, thank you all so much for listening to season 1 of the Modern Mystics podcast. We've gotten such great feedback, and we really have gotten a lot of good conversations going on social media, and people have been sending us DMs and all kinds of things. So we're loving that what we're putting out there is resonating, and we're really glad that you're enjoying season 1. We are getting ready to launch season 2 in April of 2026, but we really wanted to do this bonus episode because it is timely and very lovely and hopeful. And so we wanted to just talk a little bit about the spirituality of the spring equinox, which is coming up. And that's what we're here for. If you are just joining us and you've never seen us before, I'm Jennafer.
I'm Lola. Hi.
And we're both modern mystics, meaning we really enjoy spirituality that kind of puts our experience and what resonates with us at the center versus what might resonate with a particular kind of dogma or anything like that. So when we start talking about things like nature and spirituality, then that's kind of part of what we're looking at today. And we're really excited to talk about the spring equinox, which a lot of times people just think is the start of spring, but it's a lot of other things.
It is. I'm kind of nerdy and I like brain candy. So I, of course, was looking up the equinox from astrology, and I found out, like I knew it was Aries ingress for spring, and Libra for the autumnal. I can't say words
That's
straight.
right.
Fall equinox, but it's really astronomical. The equinox, not astrological. It's about when the sun is crossing directly over the equator. And what's fascinating is the sun crosses kind of when we celebrate solstice, but it can appear to be at the equator, depending on your latitude, as early as like February 24th, all the way into
Wow.
April 1st, I think. So it's a huge spread of time when you actually experience 12 hours of light and 12 hours of dark. And, obviously at the poles, it's very hard to even tell that that's occurred because it's so low in the horizon there. But I thought it was fascinating how it's called the equilux, which is, it's interesting. Equinox is equal night and equilux is equal day. And so they're saying the same thing, but the equilux is when we experience, equinox is the set time of when the sun's crossing the equator, and equilux is when you actually experience it where you live. So it's different for everyone. And I just hit my mic. Sorry about that. So I thought that was really fascinating that our experience is what dictates when the equilux occurs. And I thought that was really potent to equinox and what it's meant for each of us individually. So, what does that have to do with spirituality? Well, great question. So
I love it. Also, I had no idea about that. I really thought there was just one day where we had equal day and night twice a year, basically. So I literally was thinking, oh, it's just like this is the moment, when really it's kind of like it just sort of depends. It's a span of time, which actually takes a little bit of pressure off. If you happen to be someone who's like very date oriented and you're like, I cannot do something on the actual spring equinox day to welcome spring, but I have plenty of time to do it, like before, after, whatever. So I kind of like that it gives us leeway. I feel that way with the full moon because the full moon and the new moon, they're over a
Mhm.
few days versus like, oh my gosh, I didn't look at the moon or I didn't do anything for the full moon and now it's over. Like it's just varying degrees and things like that and it's still considered full. So I like brain candy. So thank you very much. That's awesome.
Yeah, with the full moon and all of those timings too, like astrologically in astrology, right? We're looking at the astronomy. We're looking at how far planets move by degree. And one of my favorite things that my teachers were teaching me was like, go outside, look at when Mercury goes retrograde. You can't tell when it stops versus 2 days before. It's moving so slowly that visually it looks like it's stopped way before Mercury actually goes retrograde or the moon is
Yeah.
actually full. You see it visually, we experience it for a much longer period of time than we would technically label it as that thing. And so that's how astrology is meant to be experienced, is it's about the personal experience. So I always bring that into my celebrations of the seasonal sabbats and all of those things. So
Yeah.
I hope you do too. I hope that it's about your experience and you don't get too. eh, To me, I'm moving away from dogma as a modern mystic and into experiential spirituality with me as the
Love.
center of that. And so I
Yes.
hope we're doing that. I hope you're doing that in your practices as well.
That's so true. I also feel like, as far as changing of the seasons, as we evolve as societies, the way that we celebrate changes too. So there's lots and lots of different, like agrarian societies that
Mm.
would celebrate spring just because we could plant now or we could
Right.
harvest what we planted in the fall. And for us, spring could mean something totally different unless, you're a farmer or that's totally great too. But like for people that are in more urban areas, it might just be like, oh, I guess it's okay to wear pastels or something like that. Um,
White's fat. All right.
there are, like, fashion rules with seasons too, but one of the things you can always do at the turning of a season is look at what the themes are, and you can celebrate those themes and how they either reflect what's going on in your life or how you want to embody them or how
Mm,
you want to embrace them or reflect them, and so it's really lovely because just being able to acknowledge those themes because they always play over and over in our lives, and doing it seasonally is a really great way to be welcoming spring. So, what are the themes that have to do as far as like spring goes? And how can that be something that we celebrate in our spirituality? Well, the themes are balance because we have that balance of day and night or daylight and not anyway. Renewal, right? Because we have a thing we can till the soil again because it's not frozen, and we can plant seeds, or we can recharge because sometimes the winter when we go inward and we're kind of outdoors, I mean, we're indoors all the time, then we get to kinda, open the windows and recharge with the sun and things like that. Emergence, because again, we can get the heck out of our homes. Sometimes things will be uh, springing up for not
the
to be
buds are
rude,
coming,
but yes,
right.
the buds are coming up, that kind of thing, and possibility. So sometimes when things are new, we can see so many different outcomes that we couldn't
Mm,
see otherwise. And so there's a lot of really great things to think about, and any one of those that could that could definitely apply to your family, that could apply
yeah.
to your spiritual practice, your work, your community, all kinds of things. And so just taking time to talk about or to think about the themes is a great way to go. And then also it's just a great time to reconnect with the natural world in, ways that are appropriate for the weather, still dress appropriately for the weather. Cause we all know that just because it's the first day of spring doesn't necessarily mean it's, bright and shiny outside.
No, it doesn't mean that. As you were talking, I was thinking of the tradition that many people have of spring cleaning and how well that fits with recharging, renewal, like
Yes.
all of those
Emergence.
are
Yep. All of it.
so built into spring cleaning. I I I don't know that I'm a dedicated spring cleaner. Like that's never been part of my tradition, but I do start opening all my windows and I feel like I can breathe. It's like the first inhale of air almost with
Yeah,
spring of the freshness of it, renewal, right? So that was
definitely.
just I was I don't know, I because I'm not a spring cleaner probably. I had never thought of spring cleaning as that before. So just hit
Absolutely.
me of how powerful these traditions really can be where we're embodying the theme instead of trying to be intellectual about it, that we're just doing something with it.
So
So,
true. And I
yeah.
think, like, just taking those deep breaths and, and having some sort of, like, breath work that goes along with welcoming spring could be really great because we're taking in that fresh air and we're taking in that vitamin D and, all of the things that kind of come from this, lovely new beginning that is spring.
Mhm. And I can hear birds in the background, right? Like they're so
Yeah.
beautiful of this theme of spring. So it's perfect. I don't know, it's making me happy. Uh,
I'm
that's
glad.
that's maybe spring too, right? This
Yes.
joyful, youthful exuberance. Often the
Yes.
solstices and like at least spring and summer are really associated with childhood and joy and new. So that's
Yep.
kind of
And
appropriate for
fun.
this. Mhm,
Yeah,
play. Yeah.
absolutely. So true. Also think that sometimes when we're talking about spring, there's a lot in that emergence, where things are budding, and it's a great time to focus on goals or thinking about like what do we want to grow. And so you had some really great ideas about that.
Oh, that's good. I'm glad I did. Okay, what were they? I'm just kidding. My brain, you guys, I am in the middle of a move and my brain's a little scattered, so bear with me. I apologize. Yes, I do, especially in our society today, we're very focused on goals in January. And January is winter. It's meant to be a time, yes, maybe planning, like, oh, I would like a goal about this, but it's not time for execution. That's spring. Spring is when we bring it in to taking action. That's when the plants are budding. That's when things are making movement on the plans that were already seeded. And we seed those from fall through winter. And so acting now on those great plans, those visions that you set up in January, perfect. I'm glad you didn't do anything. You were right on schedule, way to go. It's time now. Now it's time to start thinking about how you're going to execute those goals, what you're going to put into practice. Spring equinox for me is a lot about timing. Maybe it's the Aries rising in me. I'm always ahead of schedule. I don't obey the timing of things very well. And then I get worn out. So when I was 6 months old, I started walking, and my mom was concerned. I'm nine of 11 children. So she's been to this rodeo a few times, and she's like, that's a bit young for a child to be walking. Took me to the pediatrician, and he said, oh, it's fine. A baby won't walk if their legs aren't strong enough. You don't need to worry. Well, they had not met me. That is untrue. I walked, even though I probably should not have been, and my legs are bow legged because I didn't stick with the timing of what was appropriate for this body. I ran too fast and there's a consequence to that. So often I think as we get out of alignment with our natural circadian rhythms or we're part of this natural world, and when we're out of alignment with it, we pay consequences whether we realize we are or not. I promise 6-month-old me was not worried about having bow legs. That was not in my frame of reference, right? So we may not even be aware of the consequence we're paying that by summer when we're supposed to be running full out, we're too tired or something like that. And we just get out of sync with what is happening to our bodies and to the natural world around us. The other aspect for me is with pacing, maybe more than timing, is it's balanced sun and dark. It's not sun. We're not to summer yet. People hit spring and take off running, and this is the marathon time. Pace yourself. Go slowly as you begin these goals. It's one push-up, not 500 on the first day of spring. That's where we're at. We're barely into motion level. So,
Rare.
yeah.
I also love that story about you because it's so you. Like, I mean, why wouldn't you wanna keep up with your brothers and sisters? They're all running around doing their thing, and you're like, "The sooner I can be mobile, the sooner I can do the things," you know? So, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, even though your poor legs are like, "Look, we're still working on this," but
Could
I
you
love that.
wait 5 seconds? No, I
Yes.
cannot.
I
Yeah.
think that's also why, we have Groundhog Day in the United States where, sort of half or towards the end of winter, or halfway through winter? Anyway, we see
Yeah.
if the groundhog, comes out of his little den and sees his shadow. Well, sometimes he's kinda sleepy, and sometimes he doesn't even care, and I don't find that to be accurate most of the time, so I don't care, it's just a fun tradition, but sometimes, like, coming out of winter in general is a slow process, like, even with the equal day and night, even with more sunshine as, the light continues to grow, you might still be shaking off the dust, you might still be kinda stretching and getting moving a little bit slower and things like that, and that's okay, so I love that advice to just kind of go at your own pace and you don't have to hurry and you don't have to sprint. You just kind of get going, jog a little, and then, marathon it. Just stamina. I really like that. That's awesome. I,
Stammer spring.
yeah,
Stamina.
totally. I also think that the idea of balance is really important as far as like whether it's our indoor to outdoor balance or it's like our work life balance or if we're doing like our spiritual life balance like whatever we're looking for it
Mhm.
doesn't just have to be the balance of light and dark although that's also a really great time to do shadow work.
Oh, it is. Yeah, I think that that's part of spring for me. That's part of my practice because I think we get shadow work gets a bad name, which we cover in our Shedding Light on Shadow. I think that's an episode of from season 1. So listen to that if you haven't. But it is often a four-letter word to people, but for me, it's not. I love shadow work. Maybe I'm just a narcissist, who knows? Because it's about you. It's about what have I not accepted about me yet? And I like meeting a new piece of me in the springtime. Something that I can take in and accept about myself in a balanced way without maybe overjudging me or overpraising me either.
Right.
More balanced, more realistic, more, yeah, this is who you are. And I love that about spring. It's, to me, it's very nature focused time. I really love watching birds build nests and the flowers coming up
Yeah,
and trees budding. All of that is the reminder of the pace for me. Always it's pacing for me, but reminder of how much I'm focusing on the dark and the light because it's like this much of a bud. You can't see my hand if you're listening, but it's half of an inch, right? It's nothing. It's a quarter of an inch at first. It's so slow to come out of the ground. And that dark time, right before it emerges, that's potent. That's the most nutrient dense time for the plant. It's absorbing all the nutrients from the soil, and stepping into the darkness can be very nutrient dense for us as well. We can really develop as people.
I agree. I heard recently in a TEDx talk that even plants need darkness. So if they studied trees that were right by streetlights and they found that because the streetlights were on all night, some of the leaves near the streetlights got harder. And then if they were harder, then it was harder for the insects to eat them. And so it kind of like disrupted this whole food chain that plants weren't getting enough darkness. So, I mean, we're basically all like
Wow.
house plants that just need to like food and water and, and sunshine anyway. So I thought that was really fascinating. There's a lot of recharging that happens in darkness as well as like being able to understand yourself better and understand the world a little better, right? There's so many things we gather together in the winter too, but we tend to gather more outside in the spring. So we get to be
Yeah.
out in nature more and nature's so much slower than our
Mm.
modern life is. Our modern life is kind of crazy as far as, we can have electricity 24/7, we have news 24/7, we have, like we can go there are establishments that are open 24/7 if we need to get things. Like there's just a lot about modern conveniences that doesn't necessarily honor that rhythm, or that doesn't make us
Mhm.
have to honor that rhythm. So it's fascinating and fun to be able to go, okay, well, maybe if my life or my spirituality reflects the season, then I can pay attention to that natural rhythm a little more, or I can embrace that natural rhythm a little bit more, which is really cool.
I love that. I also love your suggestions here of things that you could do, um, to bring in some of the spirituality to see where your out of balance may be.
Oh yeah. I feel like there's so many I don't know, aspects of things like that just small practices, right? But I want for us, modern mystics, we want it to be about something that's authentic to you, right? So we have lots of ideas, but we definitely want to make sure that there are things that resonate with you. And you could try several of them and see if it works. Or if one is like, yeah, I'm not doing that. That's fine too. We don't have a problem with that. I say that a lot sometimes. I'm like, yeah, that's great. That for someone else. So that's
Mhm.
totally fine. Now, knowing what works for you and what doesn't is a huge part of being a modern mystic. But we definitely want you to have rituals or practices that feel much more aligned with who you are, right? So, like we said, just spending time in nature or getting outside is a great way to celebrate spring. It may not seem like a spiritual activity because you're not like lighting candles or I don't know, or meditating or things like that, but being outside and just kind of being in that rhythm is really lovely. We actually asked some of our listeners how they celebrate spring, and our listener Julia M said, "I just can't get enough time outdoors, so I
Mm.
hike in the nearby mountains to celebrate spring." So if you have like great nature in your backyard, or you just want to go down a little green belt trail, or walk along a lake or a river or whatever, just being outside is a great way to just get a little sunlight on your face and feel good about it.
You know what I love about Julia's practice is it's honoring her "I just can't get enough," right?
Yes.
And I can resonate with that. I feel like I said, I feel like it's that deep breath at spring and just being out in the sunshine after a dark winter, right? In the mountains, there's often a lot of shadow that they cast through the
Yes.
winter. It can look very dark. And so it, yeah, I resonate with that. I like that she's honoring her in that practice. That's cool.
Me too. I also I promise I'm not going to talk about TED Talks forever, but I watched a TED Talk by a woman, I think she's in the UK, and it rains all the time there, right? In the spring, in all the time. It rains.
Mm.
Like it's kind of like our Pacific Northwest in the United States. So she had an idea for coming up with parks that are rain friendly. So kids can put on
Mhm.
like their little rain boots, but they can still be outside, and their little slickers and stuff like that. But they can like have like short puddles or things like that, or like ways to play in the water that aren't, going to
Mm.
soak them, but that allow them to be outdoors. And I was thinking, that's a genius idea. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's one of those things where you can be outside no matter what the actual weather is, and it's good. Yeah, I love that. It's so fun. Anyway,
I think that's fantastic because, again, it's about how they experience it
yes.
there. It's
Yes.
honoring what your actual experience is versus trying to conform to spring is supposed to be windy or sunshiny or whatever. Dealing with what
Yep.
is part of being a modern mystic. Reality matters to us, and we don't try and shy away from and pretend it's not there. We embrace and incorporate. And that's part of the renewal is isn't it great they have water? That they
Yes.
have plants that can grow because they have water. Being from a desert
Yes.
state, that's a big deal. I would
Very
honor
big
that.
deal. Yeah. And also, I think it's just like spring is a good time to connect with whatever elements are happening, right? It could be sunshine, it could be rain and water, it could be wind, like whatever elements are kind of out there, you can either kind of use in your spiritual practice or reflect on, or, that is one of the best ways to do it. And you're right, like working with the natural landscape is important. Like if we had little rain parks in like the American Southwest, I don't know that they would get enough rain for it to make any difference, you know? So yeah, so here we're in a desert and we can, look at what, especially in like the Southwest part of the United States, there's lots of like red rocks and mesas and all kinds of things like that. And so there's a lot of different ways to just kind of paying attention to the topography around you or the weather around you and honoring that can be really awesome. Another way we were talking about honoring the spring, or one of the ideas is to either journal or meditate about the themes we talked about at the beginning of the episode. So if there is a theme that really sticks out to you, you could meditate on it or journal about it. You could also write some intentions. Like instead of New Year's resolutions or in addition to them, you could say, here's what I want to manifest in the spring, or here's what I want to accomplish in the spring. And taking it a few months at a time sometimes is actually easier for you to make that happen than I've got to do this all year round. Or you could look at your New Year's resolutions and kind of break them up and say, in the spring, I'm going to do this part. And so setting intentions is also a really great spiritual activity to welcome spring.
I really love that. I'm gonna apologize. Like I said, I'm moving, and my contractor had some, vehicle difficulties, and now they're here, and I didn't
Okay.
expect them right now. So if you hear background hammering or other loud noises, I apologize.
That's okay.
But it's good. It's good over here.
So
So
far, I don't hear
bear with
anything.
us.
So yeah,
Sorry about that. Oh,
it's
good.
just
Okay.
life. Yeah,
Yeah, it is. It is real life, and it is spring here, and things are taking shape. We're getting ready to put our house on the market, something new, right? So very
definitely.
seasonally appropriate. I apologize for the background noise. But Jen, I love everything you were saying. It's perfect. I love the intentionality, right? It is not by accident that the daffodils come up. It's intentional on their part. They're honoring who or what they are and their timing. And so honoring who or what you are and your timing intentionally, that's really great.
I love that. There are also usually community gatherings that you can participate in if part of your spirituality is, being with other people and honoring things. So whether your local a metaphysical shop has like a gathering or a ritual, or your community has a gathering. Like here in my city, there's always like a little Easter egg hunt. And even though that's not specifically spring, it's one of those like, oh good, we can get outdoors and enjoy it and mingle with our neighbors because we've been inside for months. So it's one of those things that can be really, really rewarding and really important. And I love it because just connecting with other people is very spiritual in nature. And when we're in outdoor seasons where the weather is traditionally a little bit better, we can be outside and mingle with our neighbors even more.
Oh, and I love this bringing in kind of these bigger outside of us themes like um, all of the cultures around the world celebrate something at this time of year. And we'll probably put in the show notes links to some of these other things, but there's so many festivals. The one I want to talk about is the pagan Ostara or Estora. As there, I don't even know how to say her name correctly, but there's a theory that she's not even really a goddess. There's only one historian that wrote about her, and so that's it. We have one record of it, and it's from like the 700s.
Oh, I didn't
That's
know that.
it. Nobody else has written anything about her. Like everyone's like Easter comes from that. Maybe. We don't know. But what we do know is spring was definitely celebrated, and bunnies proliferate in spring, and eggs are everywhere in spring. And so those themes were part of ancient pagan life for sure, and this focus on fertility. And I really like to think of fertility. I know people can get really into sex magic and all of that. Awesome. That's for you. I love it. For me, it's about creating something new mentally, emotionally, and sometimes painting or music, creation that way. But I like to expand on what that fertility is. What are you seeding that you want to grow and flourish in your life? And so, like a apple tree takes 5 years to bear fruit traditionally. So something you might be seeding something that's going to take a very long time to manifest. That's appropriate for spring to start to take those baby steps. in the beginning, and so I don't know if you wanna share some of those other festivals. You put a lot of them in there that I really was excited to see.
Oh, yeah, I mean, really, honestly, just cultures everywhere celebrate uh, the coming of spring, really. So we talked about Ostara, which is just a more of a modern pagan practice, I think, than necessarily anything else. But it's about rebirth and new beginnings, like you were talking about. And the Indian celebration of color, life, and the arrival of spring is called Holi. And I don't know if you've ever been to Holi, but it's usually people get sort of doused in different colors and celebrate outdoors, and they come home really colorful. We'll link to something like this so you can see like what it looks like.
In
But
DC,
also,
where we raised our kids, they had a holy like a run, and they would
oh,
do like a little
fun.
5K, and people would just stand on the sides. It was so fun. It's so
And
fun.
pour color on people. I love
Mhm.
it. It's almost like chalky, if that makes sense, or like powdered color. But anyway, it's definitely not permanent. Otherwise, that could be really weird. But yeah. And then also the Persian New Year is called Nowruz, and it celebrates renewal as well. So there's a lot of different cultures that celebrate the coming of spring, and not just because they are agrarian and they can till the ground again. So it's really lovely that whether we're in our particular community celebrating with others or just doing things ourselves, we can have a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, I really like learning about other people's traditions culturally, because I think it broadens my understanding of what I'm interacting with. I think that each culture kind of tends to focus on an aspect of what spring is. And so when you get that depth and that breadth, you can broaden your own or deepen your own
Sure.
practice into picking from here or there. Not appropriation. That's not what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I'm talking about inspiration, that maybe you add more color to your altar to honor Holi or something like that, where you incorporate this understanding now from experiencing these other practices that can deepen your own. And speaking of color, I thought it was hilarious. Well, Jen first was like, "Oh, you got the memo. We're both wearing blue," and I thought it was so cute.
We did not
the
plan
No, we did not, but it's the vibe of spring, right? And we
Yep.
were in the vibe of
Yep.
it's time for
We
this.
didn't even
So
know it.
I
I
love
love
it.
that because you can bring so much of that into your clothing. Like, you can have, like, colorful spring is usually associated with pastels or bright colors or whatever, but, you can wear spring colors, which is also a great way to sort of embody the season. And you can decorate your home with those colors as well, like you were talking about, Lola, and one of the things, I do is I just have a different door wreath for each season. So, the one for spring has, like, tulips. I mean, they're fake, but it has tulips on it because that's what I associate with, spring, like the emergence of the daffodils and the tulips, and the one for, winter is more like pine, things like that. So it's super fun, and it's just a little thing. I don't bedeck my whole home with spring colors, but knowing that, like, okay, it's spring and I put the little wreath up is really it's super fun. I have a great time with it.
What I love about your practice, I always love hearing people's practices. It makes me so excited. What I love is one, it's honoring you, right? That's important. But two, it greets the energy at your front of your home, at the
Mhm.
front door. So it's invoking and inviting spring into the whole home. So again, right, you don't have to go put Easter eggs on every window. You don't have to bedazzle your home for spring. You can just put up a wreath or a great thing for an altar. Maybe you live with people where you can't share your eclectic practice and that would be, shamed or might not even be safe for you, but you can put tulips on a table. You
Yes.
even if they're fake tulips, right? Even if you color them out of a coloring book and cut it out and put that hang that on your mirror somewhere.
Yep.
There's so many ways to honor this that don't have to be expensive, time consuming, and just know, right? Like I love adult coloring books, just coloring and then putting that on a mirror, then you have set the intention while you're coloring, hopefully,
Yep.
of, okay, I'm invoking newness into my life. I'm meeting my shadow, equal with my light. Whatever you want it to be, you can set that intention into that simple practice. That was one of my favorite. I know I've talked about this before, but I took did a meditation class with Jen, and it was just a coloring meditation, and we colored while we meditated, and it was a very cool way to meditate. It's one of my favorite meditations I've ever done still to this day. I loved it.
Oh,
So
I'm glad.
you can meditate while you color. Jen has taught me. So
Totally. I'm really bad at just sitting and meditating. Lola is not. I really am bad at it. So doing something else, like some kind of activity during meditation helps me. And spring, you can go outdoors. You could walk a labyrinth because there are lots of labyrinths that are outside and they're just kind of walking meditations. Or you could use like the track at your local gym or your local like high school to just kind of walk the lap. So you don't have to think about where you're going, that kind of thing. So yeah, there's a lot of ways to meditate that aren't necessarily just sitting and breathing. Although, again, like deep breaths in the spring is like very lovely and kind of clears the cobwebs out, if that makes sense. But like what you said about creativity, because again, we asked our listeners what they do to celebrate spring, um, and you were so right about the creativity and the creative self-expression, right? One of our listeners, George, says, "Spring is my muse. So I love being outdoors and painting landscapes." And so any kind of creativity, whether it is like just the egg is such a great symbol of that, right? Like that there's life in it. And so anything that I don't know, inspires you or helps you, whether it's music or art or coloring or whatever kind of expression is good for you, is a great way to celebrate spring as well.
well, I like that image of the egg that you just shared. Like I George painting landscapes, and I could just envision this egg, and all of a sudden I was like, yes, this is the pace of spring. The egg is not bursting at the beginning of spring. It's just laid. And
Yep.
now there's a time period before the newness comes through. So if you're a little slow getting going, you're perfect. You're right on time. Don't rush into this. It's okay to take your time. I really love the honoring of nature and the way George is sharing with the landscape. I really like that. Feels
I do.
very potent to sit with nature and to reflect on nature. At least that's how painting would work for me because I'm really slow and bad at it. So maybe there's less reflection for someone that's better at it.
I just love that it's very simple, right? It doesn't have
Yeah.
to be some huge, elaborate. I mean, if you like elaborate, great, but it can be as simple as I'm honoring spring by creating something. I'm honoring spring by wearing a certain color, things like that. It doesn't, the most important thing is that it it is in alignment with you and your values and your beliefs, and that it reflects who you are more than anything else.
Yeah, it does. It should, right? That's our hope as modern mystics, that you are reflected in your spiritual practice, that you're the
Absolutely.
center of that practice, that it's fulfilling to you, and that it's meeting you where you are right now, and it will change over time. I used to spend a lot of energy in spring. Um, like, I have 3 kids, and it was like every winter, getting anyone to go to school was the death of me. It was awful because nobody should be doing anything in winter. We should be hibernating. Like, it should be a very slow time, and it's not for school children, right? They're meant to go early in the morning still, as though the sun was still up bright and early. It's not. It's very hard to get kids out of bed at that time when it's dark. And there was a lot of, I would say, almost conflict in my life because I'm fighting against the season. And it's so nice now to be able to honor that and to be able to be in alignment, and just the vibe of it, that it feels more peaceful. And, you know, I don't know, it's soothing to me to be able to align with the seasons and to be in balance internally and externally. And that's what we're hoping you will feel with this episode, that you will align with the vibe that's there for you right now. Maybe it's your crazy time and you're running 50 miles an hour. How can you honor that at this time of spring and bring a little bit more balance into your life?
I love that.
Yeah. We are really excited, you guys, to start season 2, and we would love to hear more of yours. We just kinda decided to do this spur of the moment. We didn't have a lot of prep intro time to this. We just both love honoring the seasons, so we decided to do this, and we didn't get a ton of responses to the questions we sent out of, "What do you guys want?" So we'd love to hear from you still. Right? Share in the comments, share or DM us, drop us a line, email us. Our website is getting more interactive, so check that out and communicate with us there. However best works for you. We'd love to hear from you.
Love it. Yeah, thank you so much. We love hearing from you. So keep the conversation going. And if you try something new and it works or it fails miserably, either way, we'd love to hear about it because finding out what doesn't resonate with you is a great way to also figure out what does. So whatever the season kind of brings for you, we hope that you have fun because springtime is about fun,
Hmm.
and that you're able to get a little balance and clarity and just grow. That's what spring is all about.
Thanks so much, guys. We'll see you soon.
Thanks.